When Maya chose his Lamborghini over our 3-year relationship, she laughed and said I'd never amount to anything. But when she called me sobbing at 2 a.m. begging me not to destroy her new boyfriend's empire, her tune had completely changed. You see, what she didn't know was that I had just become her billionaire boyfriend's new boss. My name is Wyatt, and I used to believe that love conquered everything. That genuine connection mattered more than bank accounts or luxury cars. I was naive enough to think that 3 years of laughter, shared dreams, and quiet Sunday mornings could compete with designer handbags and private jets. I was wrong. Maya and I met during our final year at Stanford Business School. She was studying marketing, I was focused on finance and acquisitions. We spent countless nights in the library, sharing coffee and dreams of building something meaningful together. She used to trace patterns on my hand while I explained merger strategies, her eyes bright with genuine interest. One day, we're going to run our own empire, she'd whisper against my shoulder in our tiny shared apartment. You with your brilliant mind, me with my creativity. We'll be unstoppable. Those words felt like promises carved in stone. After graduation, I joined a mid-tier investment firm while Maya landed a position at a boutique marketing agency. Our apartment was modest but filled with ambition. We cooked dinner together, planned vacations we couldn't afford, and talked about the companies we'd acquire someday. I was working 18-hour days, learning every detail of corporate acquisitions. My specialty became identifying undervalued companies with massive potential. While my colleagues focused on safe, predictable deals, I was hunting for diamonds in the rough. Maya seemed proud of my dedication, at least initially. She'd massage my shoulders after particularly brutal days, bringing me coffee at midnight when I was reviewing acquisition targets. My brilliant girlfriend, she'd say, kissing the top of my head. Always seeing opportunities others miss. But as months passed, I noticed subtle changes. Maya started mentioning other people's lifestyles more frequently. The designer bags her colleagues carried, the restaurants she couldn't afford to try, the luxury cars parked outside exclusive events. Sarah got promoted and bought a Porsche, she'd say casually. Must be nice to have that kind of freedom. I thought she was just venting workplace frustrations. I had no idea she was building a case against our relationship. The betrayal came on a Thursday evening in October. I'd just closed my first major acquisition for the firm, a struggling tech company that I knew had hidden potential. I rushed home with champagne and takeout from Maya's favorite restaurant, excited to celebrate with the woman I loved. I found her packing. Maya? I stood in our bedroom doorway, watching her fold clothes into an expensive suitcase I'd never seen before. What's happening? She didn't look up from her packing. I'm leaving, Wyatt. The champagne bottle slipped from my hands, shattering against the hardwood floor we'd chosen together. Leaving for where? A business trip? Finally, she met my eyes. Her expression was cold, calculated, like she was delivering a presentation to investors. I'm leaving you. I met someone else. The words hit like physical blows. Someone else? When? How long has this been going on? Maya's laugh was sharp, cutting. Does it matter? The point is, he can give me things you never could. Things? Maya, we've been together for 3 years. We have plans, dreams. Whose dreams, Wyatt? Yours? She zipped the suitcase with violent efficiency. I'm tired of living like a college student while you chase your little acquisition fantasies. Richard showed me what real success looks like. Richard. The name felt foreign, poisonous. Who is Richard? Maya's eyes lit up with genuine excitement for the first time in months. Richard Blackstone. He owns Blackstone Luxury Holdings. Hotels, restaurants, real estate developments. He's worth over $200 million. I recognized the name from business journals. Richard Blackstone, 45 years old, inherited wealth expanded through aggressive business practices and questionable ethics. Maya, you can't be serious. You're throwing away 3 years for money? She picked up her suitcase, walking past me like I was furniture. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm trading up. She paused at the front door, her cruelty reaching its peak. Richard took me to Napa last weekend in his private jet. We stayed at a $5,000 a night resort. When was the last time you could afford to take me anywhere special? The question hung in the air like smoke from a burning building. I thought we were building something together, I whispered. You were building something. I was just waiting around for it to happen. Maya adjusted her designer purse, another gift from Richard, no doubt. Good luck with your little investment firm, Wyatt. Maybe someday you'll understand what real ambition looks like. The door slammed behind her, leaving me alone in our apartment that suddenly felt enormous and empty. I spent that night on the floor, surrounded by champagne and broken glass, crying until my chest ached. The woman I'd planned to propose to had calculated our relationship's value and found it insufficient. But heartbreak has a funny way of clarifying priorities. The next morning, I called in sick to work and began researching Richard Blackstone with the same intensity I'd applied to acquisition targets. If Maya wanted to see real ambition, I'd show her what that actually looked like. Richard's empire was impressive on paper but built on surprisingly shaky foundations. Blackstone Luxury Holdings was over-leveraged, with multiple properties mortgaged beyond their actual value. He lived lavishly but his cash flow was precarious. More importantly, he was arrogant. Richard had built his reputation on flashy acquisitions and public displays of wealth, but he'd never faced a truly strategic opponent. I spent 3 months documenting every aspect of his business. Property values, loan structures, partnership agreements, vendor relationships. I identified 17 different pressure points where his empire could be compromised. Then I quit my job and liquidated everything I owned. My trust fund from my grandmother, which I'd never touched. My 401k, stock options, the small inheritance from my parents. Even my car. I gathered every dollar I could access, roughly $800,000 in total. It wasn't enough to buy Richard's company outright, but it was enough to start a war. I began by targeting his most vulnerable properties. A luxury hotel in Miami that was hemorrhaging money due to poor management. I approached the bank holding the mortgage with a detailed analysis of the property's potential under proper leadership. Ms. Chen, the loan officer, reviewed my presentation with growing interest. Your projections show this property could be profitable within 18 months. Under current management, it's losing money every quarter, I replied. Under my management, it becomes a flagship property. The bank was eager to escape a bad loan. I acquired the Miami hotel for 60% of its paper value. 1 down, 16 to go. Maya had moved into Richard's penthouse, their relationship splashed across society pages and social media. She posed in designer gowns at charity galas, smiled from the passenger seat of his Lamborghini, documented their European vacation on Instagram. She looked happy. Successful. Everything she'd claimed to want. Meanwhile, I was systematically dismantling her boyfriend's empire. The Miami hotel was just the beginning. I used its improved cash flow to leverage larger acquisitions, targeting Richard's properties one by one. A restaurant chain struggling with debt, a commercial real estate development facing foreclosure, a luxury car dealership with cash flow problems. Each acquisition made me stronger and Richard weaker. I hired the best legal team money could buy, specialists in corporate takeovers who understood exactly what I was building toward. My lawyers were sharks who smelled blood in the water. Ms. Chen, my lead attorney Sarah Martinez explained during one of our strategy sessions, you've acquired controlling interests in 15 of Blackstone's revenue streams. He's essentially working for you now without realizing it. The beauty of it was Richard's own arrogance. He was so focused on maintaining appearances, on impressing Maya and their social circle, that he never noticed his empire crumbling from within. 6 months after Maya left, I owned 40% of everything Richard thought belonged to him. That's when I made my move. I called an emergency shareholders meeting for Blackstone Luxury Holdings, exercising rights I'd accumulated through months of careful acquisitions. Richard was legally required to attend. The conference room on the 42nd floor of the Blackstone building was filled with nervous investors and Richard's senior management team. Richard himself sat at the head of the table, confident and dismissive. "I'm not sure why we're here," he announced, straightening his Hermes tie. "Some new investor thinks they can tell us how to run our business." "Actually," I said, walking into the conference room with my legal team, "I'm here to inform you that I'm your new majority shareholder." The color drained from Richard's face as my lawyers distributed documentation proving I now controlled 51% of Blackstone Luxury Holdings. "This is impossible," he stammered, scanning the papers with growing panic. "It's completely legal," Sarah Martinez confirmed. "Ms. Chen has been acquiring your assets for months. You've been so focused on lifestyle maintenance that you failed to notice your company was being purchased around you." Richard's hands shook as he realized the scope of what had happened. "You can't do this. I built this company." "You inherited this company," I corrected calmly. "And you've been mismanaging it into the ground. Your debt-to-asset ratio is unsustainable, your cash flow is negative, and your properties are underperforming across the board." The other investors nodded, having reviewed the financial analysis my team had prepared. "Effective immediately," I continued, "I'm restructuring this company's leadership. Richard, you're being removed as CEO. You can't fire me from my own company. It's not your company anymore. It's mine." The meeting lasted 3 hours as we dismantled Richard's authority piece by piece. His golden parachute was eliminated due to mismanagement clauses I'd carefully included in the acquisition documents. By the end of the day, Richard Blackstone had gone from multimillionaire CEO to unemployed former executive. That evening, my phone rang at 2 a.m. Maya's name appeared on the screen for the first time in 8 months. "Wyatt?" Her voice was thick with tears. "We need to talk." "Hello, Maya. How's Richard doing?" A choked sob came through the phone. "You bought his company. You destroyed everything. I improved his company. Blackstone Holdings is now properly managed and profitable. He's lost everything. His penthouse, his cars, his reputation. The banks are calling in his personal loans." I felt a surge of satisfaction that surprised me with its intensity. That's what happens when you build a lifestyle on borrowed money and inherited wealth. "Wyatt, please. I know I hurt you, but this is too much. Richard is talking about." She trailed off, sobbing. "Talking about what?" "He's completely broken. He keeps saying he wants to end it all. I'm scared of what he might do." For a moment, I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. "Maya, you chose him because he could give you things I couldn't. Designer bags, expensive vacations, social status. Well, congratulations. You got exactly what you asked for." "I made a mistake," she cried. "I should have stayed with you. I should have believed in us. You made a choice based on your values. Richard represented everything you thought you wanted. Money, status, luxury. The fact that it was all built on quicksand isn't my problem. Wyatt, I love you. I've always loved you. The words I'd dreamed of hearing for months now felt hollow, meaningless. No, Maya. You loved the idea of security. You loved the fantasy of easy wealth. You never loved me enough to build something real. Please, can we meet? Can we talk about this? I looked out the window of my new corner office in the Blackstone building, the city lights reflecting off the glass like scattered diamonds. I don't think we have anything to talk about. Wyatt, wait, I hung up. The next morning, I arrived at my new office to find Richard waiting in the lobby. He looked haggard, desperate, wearing the same clothes from yesterday's meeting. I want to make a deal, he said when I stepped off the elevator. I'm listening. Give me back my company, and I'll pay you double what you invested. I almost laughed. With what money, Richard? You're personally bankrupt. I have connections, investors who would back me. The same investors who watched you run their money into the ground? I don't think so. His desperation was palpable. What do you want? Name your price. I want you to understand something, I said, looking him directly in the eyes. You took the woman I loved because you thought wealth made you superior. You never considered that some people earn their success instead of inheriting it. This is about Maya? His voice cracked with disbelief. This is about respect. You thought you could take whatever you wanted because you had money. But money without intelligence is just temporary luck. Richard's face contorted with rage. You're destroying innocent people's lives over a breakup? I'm running a business more efficiently than you ever did. Your employees have better job security now, your properties are profitable, your investors are seeing returns. The only person being destroyed is you. 3 months later, Blackstone Luxury Holdings had doubled in value under my leadership. We expanded into new markets, streamlined operations, and eliminated the wasteful spending that had characterized Richard's management style. Richard himself declared personal bankruptcy and moved back in with his elderly mother in Ohio. Maya, faced with the choice between supporting a broken man or finding another wealthy boyfriend, chose option 3. She started calling me weekly, begging for reconciliation. I never answered. But here's the twist that makes this story truly perfect. When I was researching Richard's business, I discovered something interesting in his financial records. 3 years ago, he'd been facing his own potential bankruptcy. His salvation came in the form of a mysterious investor who bought a controlling stake in his company and then disappeared, leaving Richard to operate as a figurehead. That investor was my grandmother. The same grandmother whose trust fund I'd used to destroy Richard's empire was the person who'd saved it in the first place. She'd been testing him, watching to see if he could grow into a responsible businessman. He failed that test spectacularly. When I called my grandmother to tell her what I'd done, she laughed for 5 straight minutes. I wondered when you'd figure it out, she said. Richard was never meant to keep that company permanently. I was waiting for the right person to take it over. You planned this? I planned for you to be strong enough to take what was rightfully yours when the time came. Maya leaving you wasn't part of the plan, but it certainly provided excellent motivation. My name is Wyatt, and I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's replacement. Maya wanted a successful woman who could provide the lifestyle she craved. She got one. She just didn't realize that woman was me all along. Richard thought inherited wealth made him untouchable. He discovered that earned intelligence beats inherited money every single time. And Maya? She learned that when you trade love for luxury, you might end up with neither. The ultimate revelation that Wyatt's grandmother was the mysterious investor who had previously saved Richard's company, meaning Wyatt was always destined to inherit the empire, making Maya's betrayal not just painful, but ultimately pointless.